What's the dog's name?
Max. Hey, Janelle. What's wrong with Wolfie? I can hear him barking. Is he okay?
Wolfie's fine, honey. Wolfie's just fine.
Welcome to What's Wrong with Wolfie.
Greetings and welcome to What's Wrong with Wolfie, a retro podcast dedicated to the pop culture of the 80s, 90s and zeros. My name is Jason.
And I'm Rich.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Steve.
We've been playing it safe up until now, but the real fun starts as we have a spoiler-filled discussion about the 1993 Jackie Chan film City Hunter.
On the world's most luxurious ocean liner, this city's most evil mastermind is planning a little surprise party. Who can stop this titanic disaster? Meet Hunter, City Hunter, super detective and crime buster extraordinaire. He's cool. He's fast. He's smooth. He's a street fighter with all the moves. And right now, he's the world's hungriest action hero. The question is not whether he can crack this case and save the world one more time. The question is, can he do it in time for lunch? Based on the mega-hit Japanese animation series and starring the #1 action superstar on the planet. Jackie Chan, City Hunter.
Well, while searching for the daughter of a Japanese publishing magnate, private investigator Ryo? This is not the greatest film for me to be doing my own pronunciations, but here we go. Private investigator Ryo Saber and his assistant Carol?
Carol will do.
Assistant Carol, whatever, K. So from now on, from this point onwards in the podcast, I shall be associating Ryo with R and his assistant as K. Thank you very much. Are caught up in the middle of a cruise liner hijacking. It's up to R to save the day, but can he do it on an empty stomach? Boys, I was quite excited when I suggested, this is my fault, so I was quite excited to look at this film and watch it and feature it on the podcast for one reason only, and that was because of the Street Fighter 2 scene that's involved in this film, and I thought it looked fun. I'd never seen a Street Fighter depiction like it, and it was something I really wanted to discuss. So covering the whole film on the podcast, I thought was a great idea, to be honest. I thought, oh, this is great. I really think this is going to work, and I think I may have got it a bit wrong in some cases, but we'll delve into the reasons why and your opinions on this film. I don't know if anyone actually wants to go first.
I mean, well, I'll say I don't remember any of the characters' names anyway, so you're doing better than I am,
Okay.
Jason.
That's only because I've written it down.
The main character's name, as far as I can tell, is called City Hunter.
That'll do.
I had no idea that this film existed before you mentioned it, Jason. I watched it today, and boy, it's a real piece of shit. Boy, howdy.
Okay. All right, Steve, come on, as you're kicking in, mate, come on, tell us, why do you think it's a piece of shit?
So I looked up some facts about this film. Jackie Chan considers it his worst film, so he's correct about that. It's insufferable. It's painful to watch, and it's not entirely without merit. I think there's some good stunts and some imaginative action scenes in there, but it's the entire thing is just maggoty with cartoon sound effects and a Looney Tunes soundtrack and barely comprehensible scenes and characters. It's based on an anime that I've never seen, but I feel like watching the anime wouldn't have helped. It's definitely like, why would you adapt an anime into live action but try and make it an anime but in live action? I don't know why you would do that, but it doesn't work. And I think everybody involved in the production of this, bar Jackie Chan, should have been arrested and tried at The Hague.
I was literally about to say The Hague. That's always my go-to line, so you beat me to it. So.
Like, some of the, like, that final fight at the end, you put it on mute, it's pretty good. It's not bad. But if you have to listen to it at the same time, it's interminable. Oh, yeah. There we go. Someone else go now.
Okay.
Much like Steve, hadn't heard of this. I didn't know of the manga or the anime. Didn't know Jackie Chan had this on his filmography. It was quite interesting seeing a Hong Kong adaptation of a Japanese franchise, IP, whatever you want to call it. And going into this, I kind of have a bit of a hit-miss relationship with Hong Kong films in a way, because I always find that they will lean on to comedy quite a lot, to the point that it kind of just takes away from the film. I mean, I'm a big fan of some of the Michelle Yeoh films, some of the Stephen Chow stuff, but like, it's always this comedy that's there, and it's not like comedy in the form of like, a little bit of levity. It's like overbearing. It takes away from the actual tone, seriousness, story, and it's just goofy. And this film obviously just took the piss. Like, and I get it. Obviously, it was trying to adapt an actual piece of source material. I can only assume the manga is like this. It's very comedic, very cartoony, tongue-in-cheek. I mean, if it's on the printed page, it kind of has to be. And I kind of applaud, in a way, the way this film tried to capture it, like with some of the way the shots were framed, the colour palette. Not so much the cartoon sound effects, but some of the way they actually shot it, visually, it kind of tried to convey a comic book, but it didn't work because it was so cheap, with bad sets, bad acting. I think most of the performances probably were in English, but then dubbed in Cantonese. I can't tell. The whole thing just felt awkward and off and weird and just a terrible, terrible production. I'm not surprised Jackie Chan is quite embarrassed by this. I mean, I knew what kind of film I was going to be walking into when within the first 2 minutes I was like, oh great, it's a really, really quite a rapey film. The opening was just talking about how his friend or his partner died, and he basically inherited like their daughter, and he's like, this whole thing about how he won't seduce her, and it's like, she's like 7, like, and then she's old now.
He promised not to seduce her.
She's blossomed. Yeah, he promised, and it's like, oh, do I or don't I? It's like, oh no. And I know there's always this argument, like you could maybe say, it's a cultural thing, but mostly it's, it's of the time. It's 1993, for God's sake. It's not, British TV in the 70s. It's not really that long ago, and it's incredibly noncy, incredibly misogynistic. Yeah, I absolutely hated this film with passion. There were some nice little things in it. I mean, we'll get to the Street Fighter thing later. I think, honestly, the guy that played Ken is a much better version of an on-screen live-action Ken than what we got in the 1994 film. Ken's always been my favourite in Street Fighter, and I was like, it still looks pretty fucking cool. I'm not going to lie. It looked kind of cool. But the scene was still garbage. And, yeah, again, there's just so much misogyny. There's a bit of homophobia in it as well, with the whole, like, look, one of the terrorists is kind of gay, and it's like, and also the terrorists.
Not only is he gay, not only is he gay, Rich, he's so gay that he beats a woman who comes up to him.
Yeah. Repeated shots of women getting punched in the gut and their head. It's like, so let's laugh a minute, seriously. And also all the terrorists dress like they work for Royal Mail as well. It's really weird. That was one of my takeaways. So that's just me, but. Yeah, just not a good film, even by Hong Kong cinema standards, again, which I say is kind of love-hate for me. Yeah, I fucking hated this film. So, go on, Chris, your turn. So.
Yeah, go on, Chris.
To say that I had my first ever hot fuzz watching Romeo and Juliet moment in this film is an understatement. I didn't know what I was walking into. I'd never heard of it, like you guys. I wasn't familiar with the source material at all. Now, I like my martial arts movies. They're disposable fun. This wasn't either. It was disposable. But I don't know. I was struggling with this film. Again, like you guys have pointed out, the homophobia, the misogynistic tendencies, the god-awful acting. Even, like Steve pointed out, you can mute the film and just watch the visuals, and some of them are alright. The fight scenes, the stunts, great. But the film, I was watching it and I just couldn't get my head around what I was actually processing. But it was awful. It was just so bad. And
it sounds like you're still processing it right now, and you saw it yesterday.
Are you okay, Chris? Are you all right?
Yeah,
No, it was just, I don't know, man. I don't know, guys. It's and where did they find?
I think you broke Chris, Jason. You broke Chris.
I know, right?
I think that's what's happened. Yeah.
He can't put a thought together, can he?
Chris, you're in a safe place. We all have the same experience. Talking will help. That's all I'm saying.
We're here for you. So
it was just so problematic. It hurts as a viewer. But notwithstanding the Street Fighter scene, which I believe I must have seen before because it seemed ever so familiar when it came up on the film. Maybe I've seen clips somewhere. I don't know, or maybe it's just I just don't know. Just the two porn stars that they got to play the muscle men in this film is just like, what the hell was going on? It's just like, I don't know. I honestly don't know. It was slapstick to a point where I was embarrassed for Jackie Chan as a performer and a very accomplished martial arts professional. I was quite embarrassed that some of the things he was doing. But then it's early in his career. In a few years, he'd be doing Rush Hour and learning English on set while doing that. And it's crazy to see this in just such quick succession to go from this to what we now know as... Was that so, Rich?
No, I was just going to say, this must have come... Surely this came after at least some of the Police Story films he did. Surely. Because Police Story was
Police Stories filmed alongside Police Story, I believe.
Oh, they were?
Wow.
Same
okay.
time. Yeah.
So we know where he put his energy into then. It certainly wasn't this. So.
Yeah, I was just, Jackie, what are you doing? And then to have the balls and the audacity to put a Bruce Lee film on in a cruise ship's theatre. I was just like, how can you put a Bruce Lee film on within this film?
I did like his reaction.
That kind of callback. Yeah,
when she's like, "Oh, he's
great.
handsome," and he's like, "Oh," and then she, says, "Oh, no, him on the screen." And he kind of does that real like disgusted eye roll and shrug. I was like, "Yeah, that was kind of good. That was a credit to Jackie, I guess." But they got a little bit of a laugh at me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that was City Hunter.
Okay. Well, there's Chris's.
It had good bits.
Thoughts.
Don't get me wrong.
The end credits.
Just not all of it.
The end credits. Anyway, well, for me with City Hunter. Like, I am not the most experienced with martial art films from Hong Kong, or from anywhere really. I've never really delved deep into them. I've always played it safe and just watched Hollywood or British films. It's my history. And I guess thinking about it a bit more and why I suggested to cover this film as well was for that reason as well. I want to explore film more than I have in the past. And this is an area that is a bit grey for me. So... where I mentioned before about the Street Fighter scene, I'd seen that before, clips on YouTube. So putting those two bits together, I thought this might be quite a good experiment for me personally, I guess, to broaden my horizons in film, watch a bit of early Jackie Chan, a bit of Hong Kong martial arts and all this and that. And maybe it might be a bit of fun as well to watch and see if I really do like it, see if I do enjoy these kind of films, and then maybe explore these and go into other ones as well.
I can assure you that all Asian cinema is of this quality, so you don't need to carry on watching it. It's all terrible, Jason, so don't believe what people have told you. That's what I can say. It's hot garbage.
But after watching it, the film, as the guys mentioned, it does have its problems in all the areas that Rich and Stephen, maybe Chris in his ways, has said, like with all the homophobia and the sexualization of women and everything else, it just put a dampener on the film. It really just didn't really enjoy those scenes that much, and everything. I don't know, like there were points that I enjoyed it, and it's a shame that they couldn't. I don't know, like it's a shame. There's like a good film trying to get out of a bad film, I think, and they just couldn't manage to get the good film out completely, unfortunately. But like I say, not that it's not got some good points to the film, but mostly it's just quite bad, unfortunately.
I have to ask, because I know sometimes this is common with foreign language films. You get different subtitles, different, translations, little variations here and there, and some bits of dialogue. But in this film, I forget what scene it was now, but I think it was Jackie Chan's character. There was one scene, he said something to someone, and he said the words, "I hope you get AIDS." I don't know if that was in your version. And I was like, cool. Yep. Yeah.
Say what now? What?
He said, Jackie Chan said to another character, "I hope you get AIDS." I was like, oh my God. I was like,
did he?
And everyone laughed. So
that was not in my version. That was not in my version.
Awesome.
I watched it. I started watching it in the original Cantonese. I assume original Cantonese, but I decided that reading subtitles when you watch a film, there is some effort involved, and I decided this film does not deserve my effort to that degree. So I watched it in the English dub, and I can tell you that he does not wish AIDS upon anyone in the English dub.
Yeah, I watched the dub because I was watching this last night at like 12 or 1 a.m. I was watching this last night, and I don't remember hearing anything like that.
Yeah, I watched the Go Me. I watched the subtitle version, so it definitely was. I saw that. Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, "Ooh, that's not good."
I really love the idea of you trying to widen your cultural horizons, Jason, with City Hunter.
Yeah, not watching some Takashi Miike or anything like that. No, I don't watch City Hunter. Early Luc Besson.
Hey, look, I know Jackie Chan. I feel safe with the man.
I can see why you would choose this film. Like, that's not shade on you at all. Like, I can absolutely see it.
Yeah.
It just so happens that when you opened the box, it was full of scorpions, and you were not to know.
It's like Pandora's box,
Yeah.
I do wonder what the actual quality of the actual source material is, because I will say this, when I was doing a little bit of extra homework this afternoon, there was actually a French adaptation in 2017, a series for Netflix, which is, I'm like, all these random boxes I'm ticking. And I watched the trailer, it looks equally shit, seriously. So,
Okay.
Yeah, so there you go. Even the French can nail it. And
because we don't have any history with the manga itself either, do we? So we can't. No. I guess it's quite difficult for us to compare on that front as well. But
I mean, like I say, I don't know that would have helped at all. I don't understand what they were trying to do with this film. I mean, it was 1993, right? People didn't know how to interpret mangas and comics and video games into films, right? So they did shit like this, I guess, and it's just a total misread on what. Like, it's a different medium. You should make a different thing, but they just made a cartoon in live action, and it's painful.
But not very well.
I mean, we've bashed the film quite a bit recent at the moment, but like, shall we talk a little bit about the good points of the film? Were there any?
So I think Jackie Chan, his performance was like, how do I say it? I think his performance was really good within the brief. I think he did a fantastic job within the brief. It's just unfortunate that the brief was be an insufferable prick that's hard to watch. But I think within that, I think he did an incredible job. Like Rich was saying earlier, some of his facial expressions and reactions and some of his comedy acting. I mean, we know Jackie Chan's got chops in that area already, and I think he did a great job with what he was given. So I don't criticize Jackie Chan at all in this. I think he did a fine job, and it totally makes sense that he does not like this film and thinks that it's bad. But that's got nothing to do with his, with his efforts, and all of his stunt work is great as well, as it always is. Mm-hmm. So there's that. And I really do think that the main thing that sucks about this film is the tone and the sound effects and the soundtrack, because a lot of the stunt work and the action scenes are genuinely good, I think. Like, the way some of the shootouts unfold, not many of them, but there are some bits in there that are inventive and fun, but it's just really hard to sit through, because your senses are just being assaulted by all the sound effects and all the comedy. Mm-hmm. It's just tough. Yeah.
I quite like the general plot of the film. I thought like the actual idea of the film, the plot itself, I thought was quite a good idea, actually. Like when I read the synopsis before I watched it, and I thought that sounds good. It sounds like a good story. But unfortunately, like we said, the way it was carried out wasn't so successful. But was there any good points for you, Rich?
Well, just firstly, I'm going to say about the plot. To me, this film is actually kind of like a more nonsensical film adaptation of Dynamite Cop for the Dreamcast. Cruise liner, weird terrorists. For me, yeah, I say Jackie Chan is definitely a plus. I do actually think it was quite adorable, the whole thing about him just wanting to eat something because he's really, really hungry. I thought that was quite endearing. I don't know why, I thought it was quite sweet. Made me laugh a little bit. A little bit of a smile on my face. I like the lady who kept falling over because her breasts were too big. That was brilliant comedy. That was fantastic. I did actually like the assistant as well, like, the girl who you must not seduce. I think she was actually quite charming. I liked her performance. So she was strong. She probably was actually my favourite performance in this whole film. She kind of was in and out of the film. She was obviously kind of running around with her cousin, who's also a lecherous creep, like most of the men in this film.
It's all about wanting to marry her and have, and children with her and stuff.
It's creepy. Yeah. I did actually, because you'd already kind of told me about it, I did actually kind of like the Street Fighter scene, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to own up to it. I like the way they just threw all the themes in there, Guile's theme, Ken's theme, all of it. I like Dalsim's arms. It was a better version of Street Fighter on screen than the, was it Steven D'Souza film? I can't remember who made that fucking film in the following year, but it was a better version of Street Fighter.
You can watch a tiny portion of A Game of Death in this film with Bruce Lee. That's pretty good.
You can, yeah. The instructional video on how to fight tall black men. That was not an issue at all either. It's like, now I know how to fight tall black men. This is great. Was Bruce Lee actually, was it anything from that where he actually shot anything? Or was he already dead at that point? Because they credit him in this. He's credited.
No, he was dead.
Okay, I was going to say,
that's a pre-existing film that's on.
Okay, I was going to check, because there was a bit in that classic film Birdemic, Shock and Terror, where there's a brief moment where you see a scene from The Birds on a TV screen, and they actually credit Tippi Hedren in the film, because there's a clip of Alfred Hitchcock as the bird.
Yeah,
the birds.
Brandon Lee was probably already dead by the time this film even came out, and that was Bruce's son, wasn't it?
So yeah, that scene was quite entertaining. I thought it was okay. It was one of the highlights. I felt like once it kind of peaked and troughed me. Like the opening, I was already like, this is gonna be fucking bad. And then we got to the cruise ship, and I was like, okay, whatever. And then I liked the bit in the cinema. I thought that was okay. Then it kind of went off the rails again, and then the final fight was solid. So it was a bit of a roller coaster, I think. That's all the positives I can really think of, other than the end credits. So
yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Street Fighter 2 scene there, and I think like when we get to our favourite moments, I think that's unanimous. Is that going to be all our favourite scenes? So we'll maybe
it's a bit I remember.
Guile looked really good. I think they got the likenesses down, except Jackie Chan as E Honda didn't look good as E Honda. They got the likenesses down. I on the whole though, I thought that the Street Fighter 2 scene was fucking embarrassing. I really hated it. I really didn't like it at all.
Okay. Well, I look forward to hearing why that is when we get to that part.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
My thoughts aren't that complicated on it, but sure.
Okay. But Chris, I mean, was there any good points for you, mate, watching this film?
Yes, like you guys have pointed out. I mean, we're not seeing Jackie go full Jackie Chan in this film, which was a bit of a shame, because I was expecting some real complex stunt work and fight choreography. Yes, we did have that, but not to the extent of, say, Police Story or Rush Hour. This was kind of like not playing it safe, but it was very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like an equilibrium of that. It wasn't as full on as it could be, but the stuff that you saw Jackie do, and again, the people that they had on set doing this stuff with him was phenomenally choreographed and performed. And I'd love to see some outtakes to see how long it took to do certain shots. The cinema is a standout. Again, the Street Fighter scene I'm a bit mixed on, like with Steve. I'm like, was it good? Yes. Was it bad? Yes. But again, Jackie Chan's performance is solid, as are the two female leads. And it does just go to that Batman and Robin etiquette of, we are in a cartoon, and understand that you guys are in a cartoon and have fun. And like we said earlier, there's probably a really fun movie in this, but just the execution is just all over the place. Yeah, like Rich said, the plot point of him being hungry, just wanting something to eat through the whole film, which leads me into one of those things that you can read into negatively when he's hallucinating and seeing, and it's dressed up in the script and the film as the guy's hungry, and he stands there and hallucinates burgers and fried chicken. And if you look at it from a subtext point of view, that's really suggestive and a little bit misogynist, rapey. I wasn't uncomfortable. I was more along the lines of, whoa, hang on a minute.
So I thought it was the film's like cutting social commentary on the objectification of women and
yes,
toxic masculinity. Yeah. I think it was trying to address those points, and it was just asking us as a viewer to look at that and think, how can we be better? So.
But yeah, there's some solid bits to the ending fight and just that kind of stuff. But like Steve eloquently said earlier, if you mute the film, it's quite entertaining from a visual and choreography point of view. And also the inconsistencies with camera shots. I don't know if anyone else picked up on all of that. It's almost as if each scene was filmed on a different camera setup.
Yeah,
and
I saw that as well. Yeah,
I was just like, obviously you got location shots outside, natural light, and inside shots and studio shots. They're going to be inherently different anyway.
So it's 40 towers then, basically. Okay, gotcha.
Yes, yeah. And it was so jarringly different. Yeah, it was so jarringly different that I was like, oh, we're in a studio now. Everything's pristine. Oh, no, exterior. And then, oh, no, it's like...
sometimes different shots in the same exterior scene were shot on different cameras.
Yeah,
like the shot where one of the characters is walking along the ship, like rigging, and the bad guy's messing around with the rigging. Every time the shot was looking up at her from his POV, it was like extremely grainy, low resolution shot.
It's like fishbowl. It was like a lens around it. It was like a fishbowl kind of thing going on. It was weird.
Like when you know in a film that you're gonna have a special effects shot when it goes from crystal clear HD to slightly grainy matte shot.
That's it. Yeah,
yeah. But
you had that in the Street Fighter scene as well, didn't you? On my version, it was like the special effects scenes were a completely lower grade.
That's right. Yeah.
Than the rest of the shots in that scene, and I just thought that was a bit weird. Like when they're doing the Hadouken and that kind of stuff, and Guile, Sonic Boom, the quality just dipped terribly. And it was really grainy and really bad. It was really weird.
Yeah, it made the film seem much older than it actually was whenever that happened.
It gives it a kind
1993, there were better techniques than that.
It gives it a kind of TV movie accidentally released as a motion picture thing. Yeah. But there are some positives amongst the negatives in it.
Yeah, and I guess one of the positive things that we've all kind of said is the actual fighting scenes itself. And it took a while to come. Like, I was waiting for them to kick in properly, and I think it was like after 45, 50 minutes before we got our first like proper fighting scene. But when they did come, I really enjoyed them, actually. I thought they were the highlight of the film, really. Like we said, very well choreographed.
Wow.
Really?
What the fuck was that?
Entered a new word, Jason. So.
Yeah. There's going to be lots of new worlds. Jesus Christ. There's going to be lots of new words coming out of this podcast, I think. But I think they were all well put together fighting scenes, and bar the end battle, was there any that you really liked, or was it just a general likeness of them all?
I mean, it's funny. Steve pointed out the really weird camera work in this particular scene, but I did actually like that little chase fight scene on the deck of the ship with the mast and the girl and all the flags coming down. And she was like, it was like, despite the weird camera techniques and how jarring it was, I really liked the choreography. See, even I can't say now, choreography of that scene. I thought it was actually quite really well put together. Camera work aside, it was it was great from the performance perspective. I thought it was actually quite exciting little scene. So I will give it that. I think that's probably my standout as far as action goes, definitely.
The character who has her guns on. I mean, look, the objectification of her aside.
I'd forgotten about that.
She's got the guns in holsters on her thighs, and Jackie Chan is spinning her around and pulling the trigger on those guns to shoot the bad guys. That was fun. Again, if you can look past the, weird grossness of it. Yeah. I think a lot of the fighting was very imaginative and well choreographed. The issue is definitely the Looney Tunes sound effects. You watch that final fight on mute and it's great, and then you unmute it and it's boing, boom, honka honka, and you're like, what the fuck did they do that for?
City Hunter. It's oh god.
City Hunter. Yeah. Weird.
I was really liking the cinema fight up until 2 moments. It was really well done. The gunplay, using, stealthy techniques, and it was enjoyable until the moment that Jackie Chan is face to face with that dude's junk. And I was like, what is going on here? And then the guy just thrusts forwards and launches him over the seat in front, and I was just like, what? It felt really weird to me. And then you've got the knacker shot scene where he's pulling Jackie over all those seats.
I won't lie, I did love that.
And
I thought that was
I laughed, don't get me wrong, but I was just like, a nut shot is fine, but when you got 20 of them in a row with sound effects, it took me out of it a little bit. But I like the cinema scene juxtaposed with the Bruce Lee film on the screen in the background. And obviously you got the final fight, which is good in itself, but it's just, like Steve said, it's the Looney Tunes sound effects that just completely ruin the effect. I'm sure there's an edit somewhere where someone's taken that out and re-edited the music, which seems to have been done by some student on a keyboard, but there's got to be some edit out there where someone's taken all of that out.
Yeah, no, I quite enjoyed all of them, to be honest. I think they were all very well done, and it kind of gave me the feeling of wanting to see more, I guess, of that side of martial art films. So, it's definitely a genre to try and explore more so from what I saw just from the fighting scenes of this film. So yeah, I will definitely give it credit for that. Do you know, when people say oh, how did you get into this, or how did you come to learn about that, or how did you go down this road to get into these things, and my one on martial arts films going to be City Hunter. That's going to be nice, right?
美女偷心眼神在噴，剔出快樂為真，逼我做城市獵人。美女一刻眼神在問，燒出美麗濃豔，融化掉城市獵人。
We've talked long enough about film and some of its points, but we should have a chat about the cast briefly. I don't think we'll spend too much longer on it, actually. I mean, we've already talked about Jackie Chan quite in depth, I guess, on his performance of the film. I think we see why he doesn't like the film, but he did the best that he probably could from the material that he was given. And the fighting, you can see Jackie Chan's fingerprints all over the fighting moves. Some of the ideas that he probably came up with to try and get into those to make it more interesting. They're definitely Jackie Chan fighting scenes, are they? Here's me talking as a novice.
I would say so, yes. You can definitely recognise his craft in there for sure. Yeah, and you're right. His fingerprints were all over it. Not unlike his fingerprints were all over that lady's ass.
Yeah.
which he poked with his fingerprint machine.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Also, sorry, side tangent. Why was the bad guy using RoboCop's gun?
I did not notice that.
Do you know what? I sat there and I thought to myself, I know that gun from somewhere. I recognise the shape of it. And I was like...
Straight up, that is RoboCop's gun.
Yeah, they heavily modified that gun for RoboCop. The same shape and everything. They've just souped it up. And I was sitting there last night, Steve, trying to work out where I'd seen it, and you've just answered my question.
Is that a real... So, the gun in RoboCop, is that a real gun, or did they make that gun for RoboCop?
I'm pretty sure they must have souped up an existing firearm, because this film being produced where it was... If they'd rented a bespoke prop from America, would have been super weird and expensive for such a low budget film.
Oh, okay. I've just Googled. Owing to its fame, the Auto 9 has appeared in many other forms of media. The Auto 9 appears in the 1993 movie City Hunter, starring Jackie Chan.
There you go.
Damn, okay.
Crazy. Yeah, weird.
Very weird, but I guess another plus for the film.
Didn't like the scene though where Jackie Chan was staring at Ed 209's tits though. That was just a bit too much. So.
Okay, so we're all in the opinion that Jackie Chan did the best he can, and he came out with some kind of credibility, mostly from the film. We're also in the film playing Colonel MacDonald. How do we feel he pulled off the American bad guy of the film?
I always have this weird uncanny valley thing with like Westerners in these Asian films.
Yeah.
It always is like, something's not quite right. It's like, I don't know if it's because maybe they're acting in English and being dubbed, and then the voiceovers are really, really over the top, or it's just someone's trying to write English dialogue and it just always feels really weird. But yeah, he was what I expected. I've seen enough Western performances in films from the East and it always hits me weird. Even these, good films, it's always off.
Yeah.
So I guess he was fine.
Well, they're being directed by somebody, who's also not English, right? So they'll be giving directing cues that are maybe slightly off. But I agree. I kind of love it. I think it's a real, it's kind of a rare curio to see a Westerner acting in a foreign film. I kind of enjoy it every time it happens. I think it's interesting. But I don't have any strong feelings on this particular case. It was all right. It was
Yeah,
it was bad. I guess it was bad. I don't know.
None of this film had any characters. There just were people in it.
Yeah. It was just people that said words. Yeah.
I'm with you on both of that. It's jarring and charming all at the same time. Also, it's like we don't question, say, Asian actors in our films, but as soon as you, like Rich said, as soon as you see one of our actors or American actors in a predominantly Asian production, it's like, that's super odd. But also, by doing that, it appeals to both markets, because obviously they go, so-and-so's in that, and then you've got, I don't know, it's a bit weird and charming and all of the above, that one.
As a novice, we briefly mentioned about the dubbing. I assume the American actors just speak American in the filming and then they dub over it. Is that the process?
I think so, because it's kind of weird. I think they must act in English, and then for the dub, obviously domestically they dub it obviously in Cantonese, but then obviously when it comes over here they don't have the original dialogue, so they just dub it again in English with some really cheesy actor, and the words aren't quite right. So it just comes off like doubly weird and fucked up. So that's all I can. That's what I assume. I might be wrong, but
when watching the dub, I noticed sometimes that the lips were saying the words that the dub were saying.
Right.
Yeah.
But I also noticed times when it deviated massively, and I feel like sometimes those Western actors are speaking in Cantonese when they're interacting with other Cantonese actors. But I just don't know. But the whole thing was definitely dubbed. Like, they didn't drop the dub for the English speaking actors.
I mean, I quite liked McDonald's scene in the theatre where he's sitting down and playing the card games, and if you lose, you're gonna die kind of scene. It just automatically made me think of Squid Game, and I thought that was quite an interesting plot device.
Did you notice as well? Like, this film wasn't really gory or anything, but people being shot wasn't cartoony. Like, that was kind of like realistic.
Yeah.
It was kind of jarring how when someone gets shot, it's quite realistic, but it's in this cartoon film, and it did lend that scene an air of, it was a bit sinister, because when they did get shot, it wasn't a cartoon suddenly. They were just squibs went off and they got shot.
But ultimately, this film is like too violent for children and too dumb for adults, so it kind of is just lost, basically.
Yeah. Oh, and it also allowed the introduction of the guy who can kill people with cards by throwing them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch upon that. I haven't got the actor's name in front of me, but what did you think? I mean, yeah, again, from a novice's point of view, in some ways, like flicking cards at your enemy and like killing them with the cards. I don't know. In some ways, in my head, I quite like that. I thought that was quite cool. But then I don't know if it's not cool. I don't know where I'm sitting with it. I mean, what was it with that character and his like weapons that he used? What do you think? Was they cool?
If you think it's cool, Jason, then you think it's cool, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I think what Chris was saying earlier is true. If somebody could make an edit of this film where they strip out like the Looney Tunes stuff, I think this is probably a pretty good film.
Yeah.
And I liked the card throwing stuff. It's just kind of hard. Like, I noticed one guy took a card to the head and it like cut through the peak of his cap, which is a cool detail. But it's just all of this stuff, like the cool card throwing stuff, is just kind of obfuscated by all of the trash. It's just suffocated by the trash that surrounds it. I also thought the card throwing guy was kind of cool.
Good. I'm glad I wasn't the only one. Yeah. the American guy in the film, Donald's henchman.
That was famed martial art actor Gary Daniels. So that was nice to see. Yeah. I recognise him.
Man, he was ripped. I mean, Jesus Christ.
He was in The Expendables, the first one. That's what I know him from. And he also played Brian Fury in the live-action Tekken movie as well. So there you go.
Been around then. But he did what he needed to do, I guess, in the film. I don't really know what I can say about his performance, but apart from that, he fulfilled his contractual obligations, I think.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
much as you can say.
what else does a performer want somebody to say about their performance other than he fulfilled his contractual obligation?
You were paid.
Yeah. You were paid for your body and your martial arts skills, and that was all that was needed. Thank you very much. I meant to write down the two. Well, there was three main female kind of characters in the film, wasn't there? We had the assistant to City Hunter, and then we had the kind of undercover cop lady, and then we had the actual the girl that City Hunter was looking for. And I think all three female leads did a good job.
Wasn't there was like the two undercover ones, wasn't there? 'Cause there was the one that I thought was quite pretty and very nice, but there's one that always fell over because her boobs were too big, and that was fantastic. I laughed both times that happened. Yeah, I mean, I liked the girl that City Hunter was looking for. I think she was pretty cool. She was alright, but I was quite partial to the assistant. I thought she was actually quite charming. Some of her little facial expressions, and the fact she was very much a downtrodden character as well. I kind of rooted for her because she's always been called a fat granny and was just being completely shredded by him in front of other lovely, pretty women. So yeah, I had to kind of root for her because I don't know what she saw in City Hunter personally. I think he's a bit of a jerk. She can do better. So yeah, but
for sure, she gets her revenge at the end, which is quite cool.
She does with a giant hammer.
Oh god!
In a film that is pretty misogynistic and objectifying of women, the assistant character is a bit of a standout because she kind of it's like she's the only character in the film who can see that. Like, she can see how shitty this film is in terms of women, and she's like, "Fuck that! Like, don't treat me like that." Yeah, she was good.
Anything else you want to say about the cast before we move on?
I hated the two guys that were in the arcade.
Oh god.
Yeah. The pop stars, pop singers.
Yeah. Sorry, they were the same characters that did the performance, right? Like on the cruise. Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't really enjoy
I actually
that
looked on
scene
the
at all.
IMDb. The characters' names are DJ Soft and DJ Hard. So,
Oh dear God!
take from that.
Okay, well,
what
they
you
should
will.
both be called DJ Shit.
Just that.
There you go. That's my contribution.
Yeah, the whole scene where they did the whole pop song thing was just shit.
It was awful. It was really bad.
Yeah, I did not enjoy that part at all.
If I wasn't watching the film for this podcast, I think that would have been the point where I would have bailed. I think I would have turned the film off. Yeah.
Really would have been that far.
You win. Who's next? Huh?
Well, let's move on to our next section. That's our favourite moments of the film. I think from where our discussion so far, there's definitely room for this segment in the podcast. I think we would all have a favourite moment. So I'll go around and we can all reveal our favourite moments, but we'll start with Steve.
There is a scene where bombs go off and Jackie Chan is running down a corridor as the bombs go off behind him, and then he jumps over a railing to get away from the explosion behind him. It's a genuinely good shot. Jackie Chan does all his own stunts. It genuinely looks dangerous. I'm sure it was pretty safe, right? But it looked pretty dangerous. It looked pretty cool, and I thought that was a genuinely good shot. So that's my favourite part.
Look, anything with explosions in, it's always got to be a winner, right?
Honestly, I would probably say the Street Fighter scene. It's hot garbage. It's really, really trashy, but I think that's probably the most engaged and the most enjoyment I actually derived from this film. I felt like, oh yeah, I'm actually watching it instead of looking at my phone. So I was like, because it was just so absurd and messed up and just random and weird. It kind of reminded me of that whole scene in Crank 2 when there's like the Godzilla fight. When like a massive Jason Statham and the other guy he's fighting, and they're just like fighting next to like tiny little miniature electricity pylons. It just felt completely out of place, and it was just kind of tacked onto the film for laughs. So I honestly liked that. I just thought, you know what, it's the most engaged I've been this whole like 90 minutes. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Street Fighter. So a bit unoriginal, but yeah, that's what I like the most.
No, you're right. It's my favourite part too.
There you go.
Sorry, Steve, but
well, I mean, let's get into it, right? Like,
let's do it.
I mean,
what happened, right? He crashed through an arcade machine and then was electrocuted by it, and then somehow he was like transported in his mind into Street Fighter.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole like way in which it happened was terrible. Like there was no thought into it at all. It was like, I think, like, to get Street Fighter into this film at this point must have been a massive coup for the filmmakers. Like, you think 92, 93, Street Fighter 2 is probably one of the biggest video game franchises out there at that time. So for them, somehow to be able to get approval from Capcom to feature this big massive video game in their film, they must have gone, how the hell are we going to make this work to get this into the film? And I guess the only way they thought was the way in which it happened. And I guess they didn't have the greatest budget either, so it was like, fuck it, let's just chuck them into an arcade machine and then that's it. That's how it happens, kind of thing.
I don't know if anyone thought maybe Jackie Chan's Chun-Li was kind of attractive. I don't know, but
yeah.
I'm with you, Rich. I'm with you,
I must
mate.
admit, with the whole Street Fighter scene, like, it's cliche, but from a sheer costuming point of view, those costumes were stunningly made.
Yeah, they were.
Ken, not even being ironic, Ken was legitimately really good versus the weapons dealer we got from the 94 film.
But I was sitting there watching it last night thinking to myself, if it's that lower budget, or where did these costumes come from? Did they did they rent them from a PR company? Or, you know, because, like, you look at the film and to see those Street Fighter costumes, they look so high-end costumes for the film. It just amazed me. I was just like, I give them credit for that. They look amazing.
I mean, I hated it, but it's an important scene for the film, right? And one of the reasons why it's so important is there's a lot of stuff that you can put in the trailer, right? You see that stuff in the trailer. Like Jason, it got you to want to watch the film, right? And I'm sure that happened when the film came out as well. So it was probably worth the investment. I'm sure a significant portion of the budget went into making those costumes look authentic, because they do. And I think Guile in particular, I think, was really well done. Yeah, it's the production of those costumes is great, for sure.
We haven't really seen a lot of Street Fighter in films in general, really, have we? We obviously had the Street Fighter film.
The Legend of Chun-Li. Oh dear. Kristen Kirk from Smallville. Yeah, that's good. She looks kind of Asian. That'll do. Like, no. Hollywood, it's terrible. It's just like, it's not Chinese though, but
yeah. But I mean, it's a weird thing. Like Street Fighter franchise in general, it's massive in the video game world, but they've I don't know, they've never really explored it properly, have they? They never really got it right, and so seeing Street Fighter being shown in the way it was just quite fun, and they got it right in the different characters and the moves they pull off in the game, and the way they looked, and they got the moves right, and I just didn't think they got much wrong in the Street Fighter scene, and it literally was just fun, just to see these guys depicting the Street Fighter characters, and I would have liked that scene to be longer in the film than it was. Like, I loved Ken's moves, all the Hadoukens and the dragon punches and the bicycle kicks, and I think they were all kind of pulled off really well. And Chun-Li, as Rich has mentioned, quite an attractive Chun-Li, actually, scaringly. And
I mean, it's no,
like, you know, they.
Sorry, go ahead.
And they pulled off her more. They managed to do her moves just fine as well, and I really enjoyed the Hadouken Sonic Boom thing that was going on. You know, Hadouken Sonic Booms, Hadouken Sonic Boom. It was just fun. I just really enjoyed it. It was just probably the best part. Apart from the actual martial arts scenes, this was probably the best part of the film for those reasons. It was just wonderful.
I hate it. It's terrible. Do you know, I think the main issue that I have, like, I really hate the filming technique where you speed it up to make something look fast, or if you speed it up for comedy reasons. It really rubs me the wrong way. And that is how they achieved a lot of the shots in that scene, is just by speeding it up. And that, along with like everything else in this film where there's weird comedy sound effects, it really rubbed me the wrong way. And yeah, I thought it was painful. Like, I actually felt myself getting a bit red because I was kind of embarrassed for the film. What I did like was, after that scene was over, Jackie Chan says something, and he says it in kind of an effeminate way because he's still a bit Chun-Li, and then he like shakes it off, which was a fun little moment. So that was the best part of that scene for me, but both because it ends, but also I liked that little flourish that he did.
Chris, have you managed to manifest a good favourite part of the film?
I might just have to go for the cinema fight, because it's so unmemorable. I haven't retained that much, other than a few moments that were just pure Jackie Chan, which stayed in my head. But I just not being cliche, but as much as it's cringy, the Street Fighter thing was handled quite alright. But I think the cinema scene as a set piece just seemed more memorable to me. But yeah, I'll have to leave it there. I literally just and where does she get that hammer, guys?
Don't know,
we'll get there, mate.
but
We'll get there.
It's just like, unless bring on
the hammer did appear before. Like, you see, it's like a mascot costume. There's a guy walking around in a mascot costume on the street holding the big hammer. I'm not really sure why, but that's where she gets it from. There is a slight foreshadowing of the hammer. Check Chekhov's hammer does happen.
Chekhov's hammer, yeah.
Yes.
I just can't. Let's get to the Wile E. Coyote ending, shall we?
Talking of the ending, we might as well chat about that now and get this over with for Chris before he actually breaks down completely.
I'm alright. I just didn't retain any of this film.
It's just that,
I'm sorry. I just.
Do you know, I think we've done over like 65 podcasts together, and I think this is the first time that I've seen you so broken from a film, or like not being able to talk about a film properly.
I just not stayed in there. The Jackie Chan moments, yes, but just no. I love Asian cinema, I love martial arts, but this one, no, just no. Sorry.
Your body's trying to protect you. It's flushing it out like a poison. It's like it's trying to. You're sweating out the details of this film, so that's why you've forgotten them.
Oh, fucking hell.
Well, let's talk about the ending. You know, it's quite predictable ending. I thought, Donald wants to blow up the ship. He sets lots of bombs. Obviously, they've gone off. Jackie Chan, City Hunter, catches up with him eventually, and they have a big fight. And I think they were all in agreement that the fight was pretty cool. There were some really cool moments in there when he, his little poles that he was fighting with, kind of like he loosened them all and they were all like just flying everywhere. I thought that was quite cool. And Jackie Chan, City Hunter, had those metal bars that he was protecting himself with.
You're doing it wrong, Justin. City Hunter!
Sorry, my bad.
It does the old hair.
I went. Yeah. I just thought that the end battle was just pretty cool way to end McDonald's reign on the boat.
And then we've got the Wile E. Coyote ending, like I mentioned. He falls down and leaves a man-shaped hole in the bulkhead of the ship.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, I did roll my eyes at that. Yeah.
I also liked Jackie Chan. He's got no weapon, right? So he's just defending himself with his arms while he gets twatted with those poles. And I liked that after a little while he had to stop pretending that it didn't really hurt.
Yeah.
And for the rest of the time when he's fighting with no weapons, he's like visibly in pain as he blocks the poles with his arms. But that's Jackie Chan doing Jackie Chan stuff, right? That's what he's good at. It's that kind of really well done choreographed fighting, very expressively and really well acted. That was cool. But it's just a shame about all the Looney Tunes sound effects. Completely ruined it.
It was probably one of the better parts of this film, but I'll be honest, I don't actually remember much about it apart from the man-shaped hole.
Yeah.
I haven't done myself many favours though. Like basically, as soon as I finished this film, I decided to put on a palate cleanser, and I watched John Woo's Hard Boiled, and I was like, and
oh yeah,
this film just disappeared entirely. I was like, it was gone. I forgot everything about it. So the Hard Boiled's fucking awesome, and we should have probably talked about that instead because it was made like
Jason,
a year.
You should go like Hard Boiled is an actual good introduction to this kind of stuff.
It's so good.
It really is good. It really is good.
Practical action scenes, just oh my god, explosions, gunfire.
The one shot in the hospital with the gunfight through the hospital is like still is incredible cinema, just incredibly well made.
Yeah, Chow Yun-fat, it's just amazing. But yeah, I watched that as soon as this ended, so I kind of actually forgot everything about this. The two films might actually merge into one, so I might start complimenting City Hunter.
I think that was my problem. I was up till 2:30 a.m. last night watching this while drinking a few drinks, and
Christ, drinking bleach? What were you drinking?
In hindsight, I should have been smoking something rather than drinking something to watch this film, because it would have been even more hilarious. Oh, the end fight's alright. It's well done, apart from some really weird compositing when she's on the antenna, and
I don't even remember that bit.
Yeah, exactly. There was just some. I don't know, just.
That was the girl who City Hunter was looking for.
Yeah.
And she did do some cool gymnastic kind of style moves to try and get away from the bad guy who was trying to get her.
It was very The Lost World, Jurassic Park, so it was pretty good in that regard.
You were cut from the team?
Yeah.
Hey, you.
Oh no.
Oh, dear. I won't lie, when I was watching I was actually thinking of Kelly from The Lost World. I was like, my mind was elsewhere. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember this film. Only 4 years apart as well, you think about it. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Jesus. Wow.
Yeah, but that what's led to the cartoon hole shape in the deck when the guy fell through. But
It just
yeah,
needed
like I
that.
said.
Poof. That's all that needed.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, the fight was really cool. I really enjoyed it, and there was a really cool choreographed moves in that one. But obviously, we get off the boat, and right at the end of the film, and City Hunter's in the office, returned the girl that he was trying to find in the office, and basically her dad was like offering her to him and like trying to bribe him to like go out with his daughter and marry her by saying like, I'll leave my whole business to you and you'll be X amount rich and this, that and the other. All you got to do is be with my daughter kind of thing. I thought this was a bit of a redemption for City Hunter in some ways. He was like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. And he kind of walked away from it. And I thought, well, respect to you, dude. That's not what I expected from City Hunter. And
does he not? Does he not say? Is his reason for turning it down not? I can't have one woman. I need to
I don't
have
want to be tied down,
Yes.
committed, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
Like I'm not. I'm not sure I
See-
can go there with you, Jason.
And
Like,
then he starts
City Hunter's not
daydreaming
gonna work,
again.
it's fine,
He
so.
starts daydreaming about cool girls
Back
again.
on the
look,
pool
I'm
again.
not saying it wasn't perfect, but I mean,
No, I don't know, Jason. You kind of did, so.
but his assistant was overhearing everything through the
didn't get
intercom
that.
in
Like,
the
why
next
was that
room
just playing the
because she was
conversation?
sent out, weren't they?
Yeah, but it was still like just playing the conversation without any button being pressed. Like,
Yeah, it's because the
terrible
film's
receptionist.
badly made, Rich. It's because the film's not very
receptionist
good.
is
That's
careless,
why
man,
that happens.
seriously. So. There's a disciplinary for that receptionist. Seriously.
It's
what
called a
the hell?
contrivance, Rich. And it's-
Okay, fair enough.
So she gets cross and storms off. City Hunter runs after her to try and explain, and she's so pissed off with him that she finds this big massive hammer and whacks him in frustration, and that's pretty much the end of the film, really,
Well,
wasn't it?
I think
So-
we've missed a step in there somewhere. He chases after her, convinces her that she is the woman for him, and gives her a rose. So he patches
okay,
it up,
yep.
but then immediately fucks it up by going after a woman who pulls up in a sports car because he's a womanizing prick.
Yeah, but deserved every part of that hammer blow. Definitely was the perfect ending for City
Can
Hunter.
confirm the hammer is in the French adaptation, so it is canon. It seems to be
okay.
seems to be going through the wider City Hunter shared universe. So it's important to know that fact. So yeah, you'll be pleased
Hitting
to
all
know
the beats.
that it keeps in the integrity
What I wanna know
of
is-
the franchise. So.
Did he ever get his bowl of noodles?
Not on
who
screen,
knows?
but
'Cause
presumably.
at the end of the film, she says, "I just want a bowl of noodles." And I was like, "Oh, the poor bastard! He never got his bowl of noodles or fried
I'd
chicken
like to
or
think so.
burgers."
He seemed very fulfilled in the end scene, so he didn't seem to be that hungry. So I'd like to think he probably did get a very big bowl of noodles.
or a swimming pool full of fried chicken and burgers.
All soggy. It just always makes me laugh. I think that swimming pool scene with all these like white Western actresses, and I'm like, hey, do you want to be a part of this scene with Jackie Chan in like a public swimming pool, and you're going to be like fawning over him? It's like, how does that even come about? They get like a casting call for extras or whatever, and you're going to jump in his swimsuits and you're just going to stroke Jackie Chan's hair and bob around a swimming pool for this like random dream sequence that happens twice in this really fucking terrible film. So yeah, weird.
And you'll get to be in a movie, and maybe you'll get a T-shirt or something. The end credits in Jackie Chan style, you get to see the outtakes
you do.
of some of his stunts and stuff like that. My girlfriend Hannah made a good point at the end where she just said, "At least it looks like they had fun."
Yeah.
Christ. That is the most
And
damning.
I think that's valid.
It's so damning. It's like buried.
And isn't that the point at the end of the day?
Absolutely.
As long as you've had fun.
Salaries got
Yeah.
paid, families got fed, and it looks like they had fun. So ultimately, it's fine.
Best film ever made.
But will that factor in your verdict and score of the film?
No.
Which is what we need to do now. So at this point of the podcast, we all give our own personal opinions and verdict of the film, and then we like to give it a score, which the total will go onto our board from above. And I can probably say quite easily that this will be at the bottom of our board for quite some time, I think.
You never know. You never know.
So, Rich, come on, give us your verdict and your score.
Jeez. So yeah, again, it has kind of reinforces my love-hate relationship with Hong Kong cinema. Bad comedy, underserving decent films that, well, could be decent. Yeah, it kind of ruined Jackie Chan for me, this film, to be honest. And I'm going to give it a rather random low score of a 1.7. There you go.
Nice. Wow, that is low.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve?
I think it's at times incomprehensible. I think the entire thing is barely watchable, and it's garbage. The worst thing about it is that it suffocates some genuinely creative fight scenes and action scenes. But it's on the it's don't go watch it for that, because it's not worth it. It's bad, and I'm going to give it a 2.5.
Okay, Chris?
Well, it's like Rich said, it kind of sullies Jackie Chan's reputation, because I've not... We've all grown up with Jackie Chan movies. He's fun. He's charismatic as fuck. He's good at his stuff. Even he couldn't help this film wrestle its way out of whatever it was in. Other than the Jackie Chan scenes, I'm going to give it 1 portion of damp fries out of 10 fried chicken pieces.
Just one. Just 1 point.
And that's being generous.
Wow. So is this
okay.
better or worse than Top Secret? I haven't quite figured it out yet. So.
I just... The 1 point goes solely for Jackie Chan. Just...
Fair.
Yeah.
But everything else, I'm just...
Being there.
I just didn't enjoy it. I don't have many positive things to say about it right now.
We've been talking for over an hour at this point, but I think Chris, having just said, I just didn't enjoy it, I think covers it beautifully.
Okay, well, for me, like we said, it had its good points and it had its very bad points, and unfortunately the bad points overweighed the good points to a point where, yeah, it just made it a bad film, which is a shame, because it's Jackie Chan being in this film, he regrets it from what we know. And it must be hard for him to have this on his CV because of all the problems that we've mentioned. I mean, it hasn't made my opinion of Jackie Chan change. I think he's still probably a good man. I just think he made a mistake with this. But, you know, the good points being the street fighter scene, all the martial arts points, very well choreographed, and a couple of jokes that landed, but mostly not. There's not really much more to say. All the sexualization of the women, the whole line with the AIDS in it, the the cousin trying to get off with his cousin, and the pop duo, and it was disappointing. I was disappointed. I was looking forward to watching it, and I was disappointed. But just on the front of the fighting scenes, and especially the street fighter scene, it does pump up the score slightly. So I think I'm the person who'll probably give it the most out of the 10 by giving it. I mean, whatever I give it, it's not even going to break 10.
It's going to be an 8.
It's not even going to break 10. Really bad, isn't it?
I'm okay with this.
2.5. I'll give it a 2.5, I guess.
There you go.
Which gives it a grand total of 7.7, guys.
Ouch.
So we need to induct that onto our board from above.
Where's it going to be? Ooh.
And slap City Hunter straight on there with its 7.7 and comfortably sitting right at the bottom of the board. There's no even point in comparing it with the other scores because, no point. So, 7.7 from us. But do you agree? Are we missing the point of this film? You know, is there something we missed? Tell us. Let us know. I mean, have we just looked at it in completely the wrong light?
Yeah. Have you got a different read on this text that we missed?
Exactly. Please let us know, or come and tell us off on socials, as people like to do. So go and do that, please.
I'm really worried about your choices of film, Jason, I must say. So I'm concerned now.
For what it's worth, I don't... like, the beginning of this podcast, Jason, you were saying, I think I made a mistake here. I don't think you made a mistake. I think it was fun to talk about, and it's absolutely fine that we watch a bad film.
Picking a Serbian film is like, I've made a mistake. You know, that's
that would be a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. At least I didn't do that. That's all the time we have for this week. Thank you to everyone, as always, for joining us. If you would like to donate to the show, then please visit our coffee page where you can show your support starting from just £1. Come and join us in our Discord server to discuss topics we cover on the podcast, films, TV, video games and much more. Link can be found in the show description or on our website. Speaking of the website, please give it a visit. We have articles, game reviews, our entire back catalogue of episodes and more at thewolfiepod.com. My name has been Jason and you've been listening to What's Wrong with Wolfie, a retro podcast to the max. We'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
What's wrong with Wolfie? I can hear him barking.